In the today's session, we will extend the discussion of Python lists from where we had left in the previous session. Just to recap, list is a collection of items in a specific order. So list is a ordered collection of items. Items can be any Python object. It may be a Boolean, integer, float, or a string. Individual items are separated by comma inside the list, and the lists are denoted by square brackets. So these items are enclosed inside the square brackets, and empty square brackets means empty list. No items is present. Important thing to note here is that lists are mutable objects. So we can change or modify the items of a list. Now let's dive again into the code. So this is what we were discussing in the previous session, sorting a list. So we discussed that there are basically two methods to sort a list. The first one is sort, which does the permanent in place sorting. So the changes are affected in the original list. Okay. Then we have the sorted method. The sorted method creates a new list with the items in sorted order without affecting the original list. So let's view this. So we have a list which is of the type of the cars: BMW, Audi, Toyota, and Mahindra. So these four items consist the list, and it is assigned to the variable cars. And then when we apply the sort method, let's see what happens. We get a sorted list. Okay. You can also apply the reverse sorting by passing the parameter reverse the value true. Okay. The use of the sorted method. Okay. So here the same list: BMW, Audi, Toyota, and Mahindra. This is the original list. And now when you apply this method sorted, so this is basically Python built-in function. So you do not need to write cars dot sorted. You write sorted and pass the list as an argument. So sorted and the list is passed as the argument. So then when this method actually creates a new list, and that new list is the sorted list. The items are in sorted order. And so here is our outcome. And if you just print this list again, the original list of cars, you get the same order. So the changes were did not the changes were not made in the original list. Okay. So this is basically the difference between the sort and the sorted method. Today we'll discuss some other features of the lists which are quite handy in programming. The first one is to print a list in reverse order. So we have a reverse method that we can use to reverse the order of the list. So whatever be the order of the list, it would be reversed. So again, it would be applied over the list. So with the help of the dot operator, so you need to write the list name dot and the reverse method. So here for this example, I am defining a list consisting of these breakfast items: upma, idli, poha, dosa, and uttapam. So this is my list, and when I apply this reverse method, so breakfast dot reverse. So this dot operator means apply this method reverse over this list variable breakfast. What is variable breakfast? Which is a list. So when I does this and print my list again, so it basically gives me the reversed order. So the item which was in the end now is the first item, and likewise. To find the length of the string, you can use the len method. This len is a Python built-in method, so it can be used to find the length of a string, of the tuple, of a dictionary, of a list as well. So here I am using this len method to calculate the length of this list breakfast, which is having the 5 items. So when I say len and pass this breakfast as the argument, it gives me 5. Now consider looping through an entire list. So many times we would like to iterate over the list one by one. So here we have our venerated for loop. This for loop is there in most of the programming languages, but here in the Python it is used differently. So serials basically are the collection of items. So we want to iterate over the individual items. Each item we want to access in the individual iteration. So here is the syntax. We will use this for keyword, and then there's a new variable that I'm introducing here, serial, which would basically refer to each of these individual items one by one in successive iterations. Then the in keyword. Okay, so it means you are basically referring to the items inside in what? In this list serials. Okay, so the serials basically is a list consisting of the different cereals which we usually consume: wheat, jowar, bajra, gram, and ragi. So these are this list is having 5 items. So we basically say that it creates an iterator. The for loop creates an iterator for an in combination with the in keyword, creates an iterator over this over a collection of items. That collection of items can be a list, can be a string, a dictionary, tuples. Here in our case, here it's the list. So any collection can be iterated upon. So here I want to iterate over this collection, which is actually a list. So with the help of the in, it means I have to iterate inside, access the items of this uh, of this collection serials. Okay. And for each iteration, the individual item would be assigned to this variable serial. Okay. So this is basically the syntax for serial in serials. And this colon is used to indicate the starting of the body of the for loop, and then the body of the for loop is indented to the right. So depending upon your preference, you can use 2 spaces, 3 spaces, or 4 spaces, though 4 spaces is the mostly used convention to indent the body of the for loop. Here we do not use curly braces like in C or C++ to signify the beginning or the end of the for loops or the body of a loop. So we just use a colon, which signifies the body of the start of the body of the loop. Then till all the lines are indented, they would be the part of the loop, and then when the indentation ends, that means the end of the for loop. So here we have only single line here in this for loop, which basically prints that variable, the reference or the item that this variable is referencing. Okay. So one by one, so in the first iteration, the serial would be pointing to this variable wheat. Then in the second iteration, would be referencing to the to the item jowar, then bajra, then gram and ragi. So at every time, this print function method prints the uh, item which is being referenced by this variable, and then it appends a new line character. So all of these items would be printed on a new line. So let's run this code. So what you see, the first line gets on the first line wheat is printed, on the second line, then the next item jowar is printed, then consecutively bajra, gram, and ragi are printed. So this is how you can loop through an entire list. So intuitive, as you would see, for when a variable in means you need to iterate inside what inside in this collection of items, which is list serials. So this is how we define the looping over a list. We have a very good function range that we can use to define numerical lists. Let's see it now. Numerical lists. Python range function makes it easy to generate a series of numbers. For the range function, you need to specify the start index, the start integer, and the end integer, and it will generate a sequence of integers in between. So beginning with the start integer, it will generate all the integers one by one till the end in integer, but it will not include the end. Okay. So for value in range 1, 5. So 1 is the start index and 5 is the end index. So it will generate these numbers from 1 to 5, not including 5. So it means 1, 2, 3, and 4 will be generated. So it again acts as an iterator. So with the for loop, so in the first iteration, 1 would be returned in the second iteration, 2 will be returned in the third iteration, 3, and then subsequently 4. And this number that this range function method returns would be referenced to by this variable value. Okay, So for value in range 1, 5 means you want to iterate over the numbers from 1 to 4, and for each iteration the consecutive numbers would be assigned to this variable value which we are now printing here. Okay, so this is what we are doing. So prints that value and then appends a new line. So each of these integers are printed on a new line, 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is how we would. If you just want to make a list of numbers, you can convert the result of range directly into a list using the list function. Okay, so if you just want to create a list, you can apply this list method. Okay, this list method is a Python built-in function, and any collection of items which is passed to it is converted into a list. So here I am passing this this range as an argument. So all the items that the range would generate would be now the members of this list. So that is how we do. You can just create a list out of these numbers that range actually returns. So let's see how it works. Numbers is equal to list. So that list this method list method creates is assigned to the variable numbers, and then I am printing that list through the print method. So that's how it goes. Okay, so these 5 numbers gets printed because range is going from 1 to 6. So 6 would not be included. Only 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 5 will be there. Okay. Next, if you provide only one argument to the range function, it begins generating the numbers from 0. Okay, so if you do not provide the start index or you just provide the single index, it will take that the start index is 0. Okay, so let's say here numbers is equal to list range 5. Okay, so it means from 0 up to 4, 5 would not be taken. Okay, that's how it would go. You can also use range function to tell Python to skip numbers in a given range. Sometimes you would not like to take into consideration all the numbers in the range. You may want to skip some of the numbers in between, or maybe you want to take some alternate numbers. So then you can just define which numbers you would like to skip. Okay. So then it would be defined using the third argument. So the first two arguments would be the start and the end index, and the third argument would be the skip. Basically, you define the, or you can say the step size. So that number would those numbers would be skipped. So let's say the third argument is 2. So every second number would be considered. Okay, starting from the first or the start index. So let's say here range is from 2 to 11 and the third index is 2. So it means every second number beginning 2. So 2 to after 2 the second number is 4, then the second number 6, then 8. So we have 2, 4, 6, 7, sorry, 2, 4, 6, 8, and then 10. So these 5 numbers would be printed. It would not go beyond 11 because 11 is the end index. So now let's see it here. Another example in which we calculate the squares of the first 10 natural numbers. So to do this, we have the squares list, empty list, and then so we have the question is to calculate the squares of the first 10 natural numbers. It means from 1 to 10. Okay, so the loop would be from the elements 1 up to 10. So for value in range 1 to 11, I would not be considering 11. Okay, because I have to go till 10. So for value in range 1 to 11, then colon signifies the start of the body of the for loop. Square, so this one variable that I am taking into consideration, square is equal to value raised to the power 2. So this exponentiation is by double asterisk. Square is equal to value double asterisk 2, means value raised to the power 2. And then this value, which I store in variable square, it is appended to the list squares. So here it is squares, here it is square. So for each iteration, I I calculate the square of the natural number, and then that square is appended to the list squares by the append method that we had discussed in the previous session. Squares dot append square. So this is how. And finally, the body of the loop ends because the indentation is no more here. So print is outside the loop, and then so that is why it prints the entire list. So when I print this, it prints these 10 numbers, which are the squares of the first 10 natural numbers. Next, write the this code. Okay, so list. So list comprehensions are the more intuitive way, and it is actually the Pythonic way to write to generate a list. Okay, the above code that we had seen of calculating the squares of the first and natural numbers can be written more intuitively, as you would see. Now, what these list comprehensions are? So list comprehensions allow us to generate a list in just one line of code, and the syntax is very natural. Let me discuss what this is. So to define a list comprehension, you basically define what expression should be uh, should constitute the item of a list. Okay, so here let's say I define. So here let's say I define that X should be a member of the list. Now how to infer what X is. So what values that X can take, that we define next. So we define next that X can take the value from the iterable, which we define here. It can be a range, it can be so many other iterator. Okay, so X for X in iterable. So this is how you define the list comprehension. So you basically first define the expression, which is the type of values that the list can take. And for the variable that would be in those expressions, you define how to compute the values of those variables. So I say x, x is my expression, and it is having the variable x. So I would be computing the values that this variable can take. So by looping over this iterator. So this is the iterable. So this is how you generate the list in a single line of code, and it looks quite intuitive. Let's discuss, consider this example, the same that we had done earlier. Okay, so the same thing we can write here, value exponentiation 2 now. So it means I am squaring the this variable value. So that would be the part of this list. Now, from where I should this variable value should get its value. Okay, so that would be by iterating over this iterable. Okay, so for value in range 1 to 11. Okay, so for value in range 1 to 11, so these are the values that this variable would take, and based on that you would calculate its exponentiation, and this will give you what the item in this list. So here print this, it gives me the same outcome, okay, as you would see. So this same line of code. So for value in range, and then you say square is equal to value exponentiation 2, and then squares dot append. The same thing you can write in a single line of code, and believe me, it's even faster and more intuitive. And when you would just become more comfortable with writing comprehensions, you would like to define your lists this way only, because it saves a lot of writing code, as well as it's more intuitive. So now this is another example. So I have this list consisting of some numbers 3, 5, 2, 13, 8, 17, 12, and likewise. Now I want to consider only the even numbers out of these lists, out of this list. So I would like to make another number consisting of all the even numbers of this. list. Okay, so how would I write the list comprehension? So I would say my list comprehension would be composed of the value of the variable x. Now, uh, how to take the value or define the value of this variable? So for x in s, okay, so it means for x in s. So x would be taken from s, and s is here. If now here is the constraint: if x percent 2 is equivalent to 0, it means it's a real, oh sorry, it's an even number. Okay, so this is how you define this list comprehension. Okay, so it will consist, it will only extract those numbers from this list s which are even, for which x and x percent 2 is equivalent to 0. So this is how you take the value of x, define the value of x, and that would be the define the items of this new list, even numbers. Then I apply the sort method to do the in-place sorting and print that list. Okay. The same thing, if you write it by using the for loops, you can write it this way. You define an open list, sorry, empty list. We define. Okay, so defining this empty list, and then we say for n in s. Okay, so now we are iterating over the numbers of this list s. If n percent 2 equals to 0, then append that number to the even numbers list. Sorry, append that number to the even numbers. Okay. So this is how we go, and then finally the body ends, and then even numbers dot sort. Okay, so for loop, inside for loop you have the if statement, which is basically a condition which has a boolean value, true or false. So n percent 2 has a boolean value, either it would be true or false. In our case, it would be true for even numbers. So for the even numbers, those numbers would be appended to this new list. And finally, when everything ends, I print this list. So this is the more elaborate way of doing the same thing, which we did in just single line of code here. Okay. You can also define some simple statistics with the list. Okay. So like say you can define, you can calculate the minimum number of the list. So if it's a list of integers, you can calculate which item is the minimum or the smallest. Okay, which item is the largest, or you can calculate the sum of all the numbers by using these method sum. These all min, max, sum are built in Python methods. Okay, to calculate the average, there is not a separate method. So you need to first calculate the sum and then divide it by the size of the list. So size we calculate with the len method. So sum of numbers divided by len of numbers, it gives me the average. Okay, so this is all for the today's session. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you everyone for joining.